Hey everyone, and welcome to Module 1 of Profit with Production, the Pro Band Sound and Lighting Playbook. I'm pumped to get started because this is where we lay the foundation for boosting your band's revenue by mastering sound and lighting. In this first lesson, we're going to do a bit of soul searching, or band searching if you will. Before we start geeking out about gear, we really need to get crystal clear on where your band stands right now and what kinds of events you're targeting. Trust me, this step is crucial. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to perform a full band audit and identify at least 3 specific ways you can grow your revenue by adding sound and lighting to your arsenal. Plus, you'll have an understanding of different event types and a SWOT analysis to help you focus on pursuing opportunities and overcoming challenges when expanding your music empire to provide sound and lighting services. So let's jump in. All right, so first of all, like I said, we're going to conduct a bit of a band audit right now. Starting off with your current offering. So what types of events do you typically play? Are we talking mostly weddings, corporate parties, outdoor events, festivals, parties? Go ahead, make a list. Next thing on there you're going to want to throw down is, do you offer any sort of specialized services? Maybe you provide acoustic sets for cocktail hours or ceremony music, or perhaps some unique repertoire that sets you apart. Do you already provide any production services is the last one on here. So do you have a small PA system or a PA system of any kind of basic lighting? Go ahead, throw that all down. This is just basically a brain dump, okay? As a real world example here, when my band first started, we started as a bar band, and we were playing in places where the sound system was generally already provided. But it only took us, just a few weddings, and we quickly realized that we needed to offer sound and lighting services too in order to make ourselves an attractive solution for wedding entertainment. So we expanded our offerings, and it made such a huge difference. It's literally the reason this course exists, is because it made such a huge difference for us, and I'm so excited to share that with you guys, and hopefully it does the same for you. All right, so let's talk about now your equipment inventory, next on the list here. So I want you to list out everything you own and be really detailed about this, okay? We're talking mixers and devices, everything from your sound console to your peripheral equipment, audio gear, any kind of PA system you might already own, monitors you use, microphones, cables, stands, lighting gear, any stage lights, spotlights, basic lighting setups, whatever. And of course, transportation, rack cases, carts, all of it, okay? Now, we do have a spreadsheet ready to go for you here. Along with this course, you're going to get our Profit with Production resources here in our Google Sheet. And down along the bottom, you'll see all these handy tabs. Start off here in the Current Gear Inventory tab. And you're going to go and fill this in with everything I've just mentioned. You can even put the quantities in the quantity column here and the amount you paid for those items over there. And this system will tally up everything for you so you know the value of all of the gear you currently own. And of course, the list of everything. You're going to compare that against what we call our minimum viable rig, which we're going to be talking about in the upcoming lessons, so that you can compare what you've got now with what we recommend you should have, and that way you'll know what you need to purchase. Before you get into editing this sheet, I will note you do need to come up here and hit File, make a copy. Just do that, because if you don't do that, you are not going to be able to edit this sheet. I'm not going to give you permission to edit it because I do not want you screwing it up for everybody else. So you need to make your own copy. All right. Next thing on the list here, we're going to talk about skills and expertise. So who's got the technical know-how in your band now? Does anybody in the band know how to set up and operate a PA? Can anybody run lights? Musical skills, band strengths. Are you guys killer musicians, great vocalists, good, strong performers? And then, of course, business skills. Who handles all the bookings, contracts, and marketing? Once again, you're just trying to get a bird's eye view, a high level sort of detailed analysis of everything that's available in your group, because as you build out more services to offer, it's going to be a little easier to pinpoint certain people. If you're like, okay, well, who's going to build all the quotes for this? Well, person X has all the business skills. Maybe they should do the quotes, but person B has all the tech skills. So maybe they should be the actual technician. It's just going to help you having a bit of a map of all this stuff so you can work it all out later. For example, in my band, I handle most of the technical stuff just because I like dealing with all that technical stuff. But our saxophonist is a real whiz when it comes to sales and social media. So he handles all of our online marketing and all the client interactions. So it's really all about leveraging everyone's strengths in your project. So don't skip over this step. It's going to be really helpful as you move along here. All right. Next, understanding event needs. Okay, so let's talk about different types of events now. I like to think of small, medium, and large scale as sort of the different denominations of events we deal with. Small events are typically kind of acoustic sets, intimate gatherings, 50 to 100 guests, whereas medium events scale up a little more. These are the typical wedding receptions in most cases. I mean, you can have smaller weddings, obviously, but this is the typical range for a wedding and a smaller corporate party, around 1 to 300 guests. These can get maybe up to about 600, and I'd still call them medium-sized events, but really kind of depends on a bunch of factors. Large scale events are anything over 300, or like I said, maybe that medium can stretch to 600, depends who you're talking to. But large scale events are kind of outdoor festivals, large corporate events, things that require really, really large sound systems. All right, venue sizes and acoustics. Small venues, these are intimate spaces with limited power outlets and often poor acoustics. These will typically go with small crowds. Right, so you'll have a 52 person, oops, happened there, I clicked my mouse, sorry about that, 50 to 100 guests in a small venue, right? Medium-sized venues, these are standard banquet halls, hotel ballrooms, usually with decent acoustics, and once again, these are the medium events with 100 to 300 guests there. Large venues, we're talking outdoor stages, large indoor spaces. These could be like really large trade show floors, stadiums, that sort of thing. Often very, very tricky acoustics in these situations and requirements for very large and technically advanced sound systems. So not what we are covering in this course. If you want to get into large scale event production, that's a whole nother beast. Good luck. Now, I did want to give you a bit of a pro tip when considering sort of venues and acoustics. Always visit a venue or obtain floor plans or photos before quoting and agreeing to provide sound and lighting in any situation. This will just ensure you provide the correct PA and avoid any surprises on gig day. I'm going to share another little story in a bit that kind of paints a better picture of that. But yeah, floor plans, photos, always your friend. Next thing here, audience count and demographics. So this is obviously something you really want to think a lot about when you are a band and you're building out your set list and all of that sort of stuff, but it also comes into play when you're building out your PA. When you're talking about a wedding, we can expect a diverse crowd with varying musical tastes, and a wide range of things can happen at a wedding. You can have a harp at a ceremony and a dance band later on at night and maybe a small PA over dinner and that sort of thing. So you don't necessarily want to be using the sound system, the same sound system for the entire event. You may need to have different sound systems in different contexts. It's important to know what you're getting into in those cases. For corporate events, these are often more formal with a focus on background music first and a party later. If they do want a dance band, I'd always recommend, like I said, ask for photos of the venue, but also ask for photos of past events and see kind of what that dance floor crowd was like, because you're going to need to kind of tailor your PA to who you're playing to. If you're just asked to play to a dance floor and the photo of the dance floor from last year's event only had 5 people on it, don't bring your biggest gun PA because you're just not going to need it. But if they're expecting you to fill the whole room with sound, and this is a 600-person ballroom, you're going to need the big guns. So very important to know that before you get into things. Private parties here, these can be backyard barbecues or upscale cocktail parties, but the really important thing to note here is that a lot of these happen at private residences. And when you're dealing with a private residence, you need to take really careful consideration to understand what the load in and load out situation is going to be like. So if you're working with, say, a gravel driveway and you're going to have to wheel all of your gear down 200 meters of gravel driveway, destroy all your shoes in the process, and be hand bombing every piece of gear one by one, you've just added 2.5 hours to your load in. You need to charge extra for that, right? Oftentimes you're moving gear up and down flights of stairs because these homes and things don't have elevators. So very important to note that stuff before you get to the point of quoting. All right. Last part of this lesson, we're going to look at the SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis is where we take our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats and put them all in a nice little chart so we can see what we're up against here. So when you're talking about strengths, these go with weaknesses, and opportunities are opposing to threats here. So strengths, what does your band do well? What sets you apart from the competition? Don't just think about this from the current music offerings you're currently providing, but think ahead to the sound systems you will be providing. What can you do differently from the competition that might set you apart there? Weaknesses. What are your limitations? What areas might need improvement here? Okay, and then opportunities. What are new markets or services you could explore? Threats. What are external factors that could hinder your success? Okay, really important to have this kind of all down here in one place. It's going to help you keep a bird's eye view on things as you move forward in this course and understand how you're going to be growing your business out. Some more things you may want to think about in the SWOT analysis, but information you might not have yet are these. So what's a reasonable amount of revenue we can expect to add to the business in the next 12 months? We're going to be focusing on that a little more in some of the upcoming lessons. So you'll be able to come back to your SWOT analysis later and put this information in. Next thing here, what kind of time commitment should you expect in order to make all of this happen? Once again, you'll have a better idea of that when you complete the future lessons. And then, of course, what resources will you need? What financial resources might you need to acquire all of this gear and skills and whatever else to make all of these new goals achievable? So that is stuff we will be looking at later that you can then come and put back into your SWOT analysis. So as an example here, here's my own projects analysis from a few years back when we were thinking about getting into sound and lighting. So we had a 9-piece band with a horn section, large repertoire of songs that spanned many genres and decades, strong vocals. We had one tech guy who happened to be a band member and connections with 3 other tech guys. We had 75 or so annual gigs, and about 25 or so of those were weddings that required sound and lighting. Weaknesses, well, we had no lighting, sound, DJ, or ceremony services at the time. We were renting all of that gear gig by gig for some very high operating costs. And of course, it was expensive to move all that stuff around, bring it to gigs, all that stuff. Opportunities, well, we could easily add $1,000 to $1,500 in revenue to each gig by providing all of that audio and lighting equipment to our clients. And of course, we could even provide other things like sound for ceremonies and cocktails and all that good stuff. Threats, though, well, it's high startup costs for purchasing all of this audio equipment and lighting. None of it's cheap, and we had the potential risk of losing money if we didn't know how to price things accordingly. So that gave us a good idea of where we stood on the market. So key takeaways from this lesson. A comprehensive band audit is going to help you identify your strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement. Number 2 here, understanding your event needs, whether they're small, medium, large, that sort of thing, is crucial for selecting the right equipment and tailoring your performance. A SWOT analysis provides you a clear understanding of the opportunities and challenges inherent in expanding into sound and lighting services. All right, so your learning activities for this lesson, I want you guys to go and complete that SWOT analysis in the template we provided. Based on that analysis, you should be able to identify at least 3 specific opportunities for revenue growth through sound and lighting services. And then lastly, complete your current gear inventory. Very, very important step. Okay, so what is next? In the next lesson, Audio Equipment Essentials, we'll dive deep into selecting the right mixers, speakers, and monitoring systems for various band and event sizes. You guys are going to get my complete gear list with buy links featuring over 60 essential items that will save you months, seriously months of research and years of trial and error. Every piece has been thoroughly tested in my own 15-year live music business. So stick around. Can't wait to see you there in the next lesson.